Welcome on into WFRV Plus Sports Night. Cameron is there with you. Per usual, riding solo on this Thursday. Final WFRV Plus Sports Night show of the week prior to the Packers hosting the Vikings at Lambeau Field on noon or at noon on Sunday. And we got some news for later in the season when the Packers host the Bears at Lambeau Field on the 7th of December. That game flexed to 325. So you could say, the rest of the league taking notice, but honestly, I feel like everyone had a feeling that that game would be switched. And I think it's Bengals-Bills being switched out of that spot, which is quite interesting because Joe Burrow will be back for Cincinnati. He was a full participant for the week against Josh Allen, but divisional game, Bears 7-3, Packers 6-3-1, or at least that's their current records. They're playing in week 14, so that's in 3 weeks. It's week 12 now, we're in 2. But yeah, that's some new news when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. But of course, their focus is on the Vikings on Sunday at noon at Lambeau Field, trying to get their get back after they started the season 3-0 at home, and now they've lost their last 2, 3-point defeat to the Panthers, and then 3-point loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, where the offense really just very stagnant from start to finish. The defense fantastic in those last 2 games, so we'll see if the Lambeau love can start to creep on the shoulders of Jordan Love in the offense. I remember yesterday when the injury report was abnormally long, you could say, over a third of the active roster listed. No new players in the injury report, but in terms of injury, actually, that's not true. Bo Melton was added with a shoulder injury. He was a limited participant, but the rest of the 17 other players on the injury report yesterday are still on the injury report. Jordan Love, Brendan McManus, still full participants, but the update on this injury report, Savion Williams, foot injury. Remember, he's been in that walking boot, made that big play against the Giants, didn't practice yesterday, was a limited participant today. And then Josh Jacobs, come on. That's what this Packers team wanted and kind of needed to see after that knee injury. He is back in the fold, or at least in a limited capacity with the green and gold. This was Josh at practice today. And whenever you have your starting running back in the mix, especially after he leaves in the first half of a game, and the head coach says afterward, it's a major concern, especially when he can't return to the ball game, then that's a great sign to see. Jacobs, of course, limited, but Matt LaFleur saying the injury more so day-to-day than anything back on Monday. And after he didn't practice on Wednesday, you kind of had the concern in your head thinking, okay, he definitely will not play on Sunday, or you'd expect him not to. Not trying to make assumptions or speculate, but then comes out, practices today, at least looks good during the individual drills. Matt LaFleur saying in his press conference this morning that they would warm up Jacobs and stretch and individual drills. Of course, we didn't see what he looked like or if he looked like anything in the team drills, but just to see him back out there is a great sign, even though you know you have Emmanuel Wilson in your back pocket to take control of that run game. Remember, had 40 yards in that win over the Giants, his first touchdown, few catches, guy that's just built up his confidence over time. But the reason you pay this guy nearly $50 million in Josh Jacobs, you want him to play. And not only did he practice, but we had the chance to talk to Josh as well. Here's Josh Jacobs on the injury and his possible availability for Sunday.
Ain't really too much is what bothers me. It's more so just about getting a range of motion. Like, if I can't run, I can't do anything, and that's just me being all the way honest. But if it's just because I feel it a little bit, then I'm going to go. I mean, I can push through that. Mentally, I'm tough enough to push through that. But if I can't physically run, then it's going to be what it is.
I know you said day-to-day in this week still a possibility. You say worst case is pushing this only one game, like even if you don't play this week.
Worst case, I don't see if I don't play this week, Thursday I'm definitely playing. It's not like something that'll linger over past that. Yeah, so that's really the worst case scenario. Yeah.
Josh, sorry if you've already been asked, but what ended up happening? What were you feeling on Sunday?
Yeah, so I basically banged my knee, so I got a bone bruise. on my knee, and I got a contusion in my thigh, right above the knee. So it's like two things kind of at once, and that's where a lot of the swelling is coming from and the stiffness. So like it's not necessarily a pain where like I can smack it right now. It don't really bother me. It's more so range of motion.
How nice was it to be back at practice today, knowing that the game Sunday, obviously the importance of it?
I mean, it's always good to be out there. I mean, it's weird watching. I've always been weird watching. That's why I know like when I'm done with football, I probably would never be around it because it's just hard. It's just hard to do for me. But just knowing that a lot of the players still come up to me and ask me, for encouragement or what do I see on certain plays or anything like that. It kind of keep me going. It is hard to watch, and you definitely want to always feel like you getting some type of work in, you progressively getting better. But yeah, watching is definitely the hardest thing to do.
What was your level of concern when the injury happened? Did you think that it would be worse than it was?
I definitely did, just because of how swollen it got so fast, and how I honestly couldn't bend it. And I was like, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But when I got the MRI and I found out actually what it was, then it kind of cleared my mind a little bit and changed my focus on really just getting healthy and getting the swelling out.
Which play did it happen on? I would imagine as a running back, you've been through every injury possible. Yeah. Have you been through anything similar to this before that you've had experience?
So it happened on the second play, and I would say that, yeah, my rookie year actually playing here, first time ever playing in this stadium, first play of the game, Adrian Amos, highest paid safety at that time, came down, left side of the field, ran him over, fractured my growth plate in my shoulder, and I played the rest of the year basically with a fractured shoulder. I didn't practice basically the rest of the year. Saturdays, did walk through and played in the games on Sundays. That was probably the worst injury I've ever had playing football because you couldn't even sleep, laying on your back. You couldn't do none of that. Like, you in a sling, the sling get uncomfortable, you can't really hold it down. That was probably the worst. Yeah.
Sunday would it be?
Second play of the game. Yeah.
You played a lot more snaps after that. What was the pain like going through that?
It was progressively getting worse. Yeah, it was like I had a one run there, even on the end zone, right? So not the first end zone carry, but the second. I could have outran the dude to the sideline, but it was one of those where I'm like, I didn't really trust my leg. I was kind of getting stiff. I was kind of hesitant. I'm kind of in my head, and I just like, all right, get vertical, and then I got tackled on the one instead of actually making a play. So yeah, that's something that I never want to do if I come into a game. If I feel like I'm thinking about it too much and it's not allowing me to be who I am, then I got to be realistic with myself.
If you go Sunday, do you think it's a regular workload or more of a rotation?
Knowing how we do things here, probably going to be rotation. Yeah. The pain really too much is what bothers me. It's more so just about getting the range of motion. Like if I can't run, I can't do anything. And that's just me being all the way honest. But if it's just because I feel it a little bit, then I'm gonna go. I mean, I can push through that. Mentally, I'm tough enough to push through that. But if I can't physically run, then it's gonna be what it is.
I know you said day to day, and this week's still a possibility. You say worst case is pushing this only one game, like even if you don't play this week.
Worst case, I don't see if I don't play this week, Thursday I'm definitely playing. It's not like something that'll linger over past that. Yeah, so that's really the worst case scenario. Yeah.
Hey Josh, sorry if you've already been asked, but what ended up happening? What were you feeling on Sunday?
Yeah, so I basically banged my knee, so I got a bone bruise on my knee, and I got a contusion in my thigh, right above the knee. So it's like two things kind of at once, and that's where a lot of the swelling is coming from and the stiffness. So like it's not necessarily a pain where like I can smack it right now. It don't really bother me. It's more so range of motion.
How nice was it to be back at practice today, knowing that the game Sunday, obviously the importance of it?
I mean, it's always good to be out there. I mean, it's weird watching. I've always been weird watching. That's why I know like when I'm done with football, I probably would never be around it because it's just hard. It's just hard to do for me. But just knowing that a lot of the players still come up to me and ask me, for for encouragement or what do I see on certain plays or anything like that, it kind of keep me going. It is hard to watch, and you definitely want to always feel like you're getting some type of, work in, that you progressively, getting better. But, yeah, watching is definitely the hardest thing to do.
What was your level of concern when the injury happened? Did you think that it would be worse than it was?
I definitely did, just because how swollen it got so fast, and how I honestly couldn't bend it. And I was like, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. But when I got the MRI and I found out actually what it was, then it kind of cleared my mind a little bit and changed my focus on really just getting healthy and getting the swelling out.
Which play did it happen on? I would imagine as a running back, you've been through every injury possible. Yeah. Have you been through anything similar to this before that you've been through experience?
So it happened on the second play, and I would say that, yeah, my rookie year actually playing here, first time ever playing in this stadium, first play of the game, Adrian Amos, highest paid safety at that time, came down, left side of the field, ran him over, fractured my growth plate in my shoulder, and I played the rest of the year basically with a fractured shoulder. I didn't practice basically the rest of the year. Saturdays, did walkthrough and played in the games on Sundays. That was probably the worst injury I've ever had playing football, because you couldn't even sleep laying on your back. You couldn't do none of that. Like, you in a sling, the sling get uncomfortable. You can't really hold it down. That was probably the worst.
Sunday would it be?
And that Josh Jacobs talking about the injury. Luckily, it's not severe enough. And hey, if you missed him the first time, you got to listen to him a second time as well. I think it's good to reiterate the fact that Jacobs, in a place where he could play on Sunday, but like he said, the injury not as bad as he had previously thought. So if he doesn't play Sunday, he will play against the Lions next week, or at least that's his estimation or approximation. He's always very, very open and honest with us. Speaking of honesty, when we come back on WFRV Plus Sports Night, we're talking to Micah Parsons, who is always very, very outspoken and honest to us as well. That's coming up after the break. Back here on the show, Cameron Ezer with you as we take you through the final prep for the Packers taking on the Vikings in, 4 days now? Gosh, the days just fly. How are we already at week 11? Crazy to think. This Packers defense. I asked Micah Parsons about how he has expressed his constant support of the offense, no matter how they had played the previous 2 weeks prior to that Giants game, and how he continues to believe, and so does everyone in that locker room. But he told me after that Giants win that, hey, they picked us up today because we didn't play up to our standard. You kind of think for a second, wait, your defense held them to 20 points. I understand it's the New York Giants, but they had to go for it on fourth down 4 times. You guys nearly had 5 interceptions. It felt like the defense played an okay game, not a great game, but okay. Then talking with Isaiah McDuffie, he told me, yeah, because the standard's to hold them to no points. So yeah, we didn't play up to our standard. But Micah Parsons never shies away from sharing what he is thinking at every given moment. Whenever we talked to him, and we had the chance to speak to Micah Parsons today after practice.
Micah, when you're facing a starting quarterback who's in his first year, in what ways does that make it different for you as a pass rusher?
I feel like it doesn't make a difference. I think that's just more the back end. For me, I'm rushing to get there as fast as possible every time. But on the back end, there's a lot of disguise, different looks they got to show to try to confuse them and slow his process down to help me out.
If you're able to get to him in, say, the first quarter, does that make a difference the whole game if you're in a guy's head, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anytime you get to a quarterback first quarter, first play, maybe not sack him, but constant pressure, it definitely makes him look over his head a little bit, kind of know where you're at, and if he's looking at you, he's not looking downfield, so we're doing something right.
Mike, it's been a bit since you guys played a division game way back in week 1. What do you make of the NFC North?
Oh, this is one of the toughest divisions in football, if not the best division, besides the NFC West. So, this is a competitive, very competitive division. You got, multiple teams over 6 wins right now, halfway through the point. So, we got to come together. Even though the Vikings had early struggles, they showed times of winning and coming back and being resilient and being that team that we seen last year. And obviously that came with McCarthy being out. You know, that's kind of when a couple of losses unfolded when they went against some of the better teams in the NFC. So this is a really good team, and we got to come prepared.
Obviously, you weren't here last year, but this team, the Packers, won one division game last year.
Yeah, we already won one, so we can only go up from here.
Okay.
You know Aaron Jones pretty well, right?
Yeah.
What makes him a difficult guy to get on the ground?
I just think he runs for every yard. You know, he runs with passion, purpose behind every carry, and I think he has great vision. You know, I think I've competed with him when I was at Dallas, and he was here, and he's always had some pretty good games. But you know, I think we're a great front, and I mean, basically what we've been saying, if they're gonna come run it 35 times, we gotta be prepared for that.
Like, I know it's always just one game at a time, of course, but how do you just view this? 7 games left, 5 of them are in the division, you know, and just how this is kind of shaping up.
I mean, it's shaping up like how you want it. You know, this is playoff football. These are all teams that you're eventually going to see trying to get to that Super Bowl. So we got to compare. It's almost December. November is almost up. And this is what we need. You know, I understand we got injuries and we're tested in all different ways, but adversity is when teams rise. And, you know, when guys get back and we continue getting healthy and we kind of know what we got from guys we didn't know and guys stepping up, I think we're going to be a really good football team.
Speaking of injuries, what did you know about Josh Jacobs when you got here, and what does it mean for a guy like that to go out there and practice today, just a few days after an injury?
I mean, Josh has always put the team before himself every single time, whether it was calf strains, whether it was hands, muscles. I mean, he's kind of always been that guy to be like, I'm pushing through it. I'm putting my life out here for y'all and let us know how much he cares about us. And, you know, that kind of shows you, like, his mental toughness, what he brings to this team, what he brings to the game. And you see it in his play style. I mean, his play style is aggressive as hell. That's how he attacks his treatment. That's how he attacks, you know, his practice regimen. And he feels like if he was capable to practice today, that, you know, that means a lot, having one of your leaders out there on the field, knowing what he's going through. That's challenging as hell. But, you know, that's kind of the guy he is, and I couldn't be more happy to be his teammate.
How do you feel like the run game defense was against the Giants?
Good. I mean, they had, you know, I think maybe 2 or 3 runs that got out, but I think most of the game, I mean, we had it 2 and 3 yards a carry. You know, we was pretty good, but of course, eventually every team's going to get 1 or 2 runs that kind of make it yards per carry jump a little bit. But I mean, we held them 19 points, so the run couldn't have been that great.
You got plenty of experience being double teamed.
Yeah.
It's been that way for a while. When did you be able to, you know, reconcile it with you? That's going to happen all the time, and then you just have to deal with it. I mean, have you get to that point?
Yeah, and then guys remind me that's what comes with $47 million. Like, you think you're being paid that much just because you can't do your job at a high level? Like, that's what's going to come. That's coming with the territory. So I just got to anticipate. Like, I know it's coming. The guys know it's coming. It's just preparing for it. How do you beat it? You got to find a way. I seen guys on film find a way, and that's what I got to continue to do is find a way. That's all it's about, finding a way. There's, like, no excuses, no whatever. Double teams are part of the game. Chips are part of the game. But I got to find a way to get home and bring constant pressure and bring the other guys around me better.
Mike,
So.
you told us after the Giants game you felt like the defense didn't play up to its standard, largely because the 20 points
Yeah.
you guys expect to hold it to less. But when you watched the tape, when you went back to look at it, what stood out that you guys need to fix for this weekend?
Yeah, you know, we just got to tackle better. We got to tackle better. We got to come off blocks better, stay square. Like I said, how did those couple runs get out? That kind of made it big because we got out our fundamentals and technique. We need to play a full 4 quarters of pure fundamentals and technique. Everyone has to step up. You know, it's not just me. It's not just a few of the guys that, you know, obviously we're all looking at because of how much they make, but every single player that's been drafted, maybe hasn't had a lot of playing time, that has opportunities, we all got to step up and play well.
Micah, to go back to the double teams and triple teams in practice, do you get to practice that basically, get a feel for when double teams and chips are coming? Are you able to simulate it much in practice?
No, you can't practice. No player wants to come out there and hit their teammate, and this is practice. You're trying to gear up for Sunday, so there's no way of practicing or gearing up for it. It's just one of those things. On Sunday you're gonna feel it, and that's up for your coaches and your training staff to take care of you during the week to prepare for it on Sunday.
Micah, you talked about.
And speaking of preparation, I mean, you're up against a rookie quarterback, and even talking to Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney and even Micah more so after, for the rest of the press conference. whoever gets a rookie quarterback, you know the opportunities are going to be there. Now, the Vikings do have a good offensive line along with a lot of great skill players that will allow J.J. McCarthy, the starting quarterback of Minnesota, to get the ball out quicker. But it's a guy in Parsons who he mentioned the $47 million. He mentioned the expectations. He mentioned he needs to get home. He has 19 sacks in his last 19 games. I mean, I think if you'd ask any D lineman to have those kind of statistics, now, of course, anyone that watches the game of football expects a guy like Micah Parsons, as you would of a Myles Garrett, to have a couple sacks a game, or at least the opportunities to have. And we'll see if he can get to J.J. McCarthy, because the Vikings also have a pair of great running backs in Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. Obviously, everyone in Green Bay understands just how dangerous Jones can be, as he was with the Packers, especially in 2023 toward the back end of the year. So I think there's a lot of meat left on the bone for this defense after that Giants game. There were a few fourth downs in which they probably should have gotten off the field. And I'm actually happy that when I asked the question about when you watch the tape, what didn't fit your standard outside of course, giving up the 20 points, and he mentioned tackling, because there were a few times where the Giants went on a 15-16 play drive where that easily could have been stopped. I mean, even that fourth down stop they had toward the end of the game, that was inside the 15-yard line. The Giants still could have gotten more points, on the game if they would have settled for a field goal. So I look at the performance of Micah and the performance against New York to what many people expect and say it wasn't what we saw out of this team against Philadelphia and Carolina, and it goes back to the lack of consistency. It still was a great effort by the defense, but it looked better because that fourth down stop inside the 15, because that interception in crunch time by Evan Williams after they had dropped 4 previous, that Micah strip sack at the end where Jameis Winston probably just had to huck up a Hail Mary anyway. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this Packers team does against a Vikings offense that is so darn talented, but the talent has in a way been washed away just because of the fragility at the quarterback position. We're going to take one final break here on WFRV Plus Sports Night. When we come back, I'm going to make my predictions on the Pack and kind of give you my keys to that game on Sunday at Lambeau Field. That's next on the show. Welcome on back. WFRV Plus Sports Night. Cameron there with you, getting you ready for Packers Vikings in 4 days. Sunday, Lambeau Field, noon game. Should be a good one. Finally, a divisional test. I mean, this team has been begging for a divisional test for 10 weeks now. After taking down the Lions in week 1, you kind of got the feeling, oh, wait, this isn't your same 1-5 NFC North team from a year ago that still made the playoffs. This is a team that most likely will make the playoffs and also be successful and maybe win the NFC North. And no one has really separated themselves in terms of playoff positioning in the NFC North. The Bears being 7-3, they haven't played a whole lot of divisional games. The Packers 6-3-1, the Lions 6-4. I think the Vikings are 4-6. But the bulk of the divisional games for all of those teams come in late November and December, but especially for the Pack, who again have only played one game against an NFC North squad, and they have 5 to go, 5 of their last 7 in the division, and 3 straight, with the Vikings at home, Detroit on Thanksgiving on the road, and then at home against the Chicago Bears. This stretch will determine a lot. It reminds me of what the Chargers did to open up the season. Right now, they're 7-4, but because of what they accomplished through the first 3 games, taking down the Chiefs, the Raiders, and the Broncos, they were 3-0 in the division. So even those out-of-division losses didn't look that bad because of just how well they were positioned divisionally. Now, of course, the Denver Broncos have done a great job winning 8 in a row and winning a few in division, especially a couple over the Chiefs to distance themselves a little bit. But I look at this Packers team and say they understand just how important divisional games are, especially with what happened last year. It sets up playoff positioning and can get you a home playoff game. And we heard from a couple of the guys in the locker room, Isaiah McDuffie, Evan Williams, Micah Parsons, just about how much they want that home playoff game, because a win in the playoffs, it pole vaults you in terms of momentum. And that's what we saw with the Packers a few years ago. You take down the Cowboys in a game no one expected them to win, and then they probably should have beaten the 49ers en route to the NFC Championship, but they lost. You get a home playoff game, your chances just heighten in terms of your probability of winning that game. And even if you have to hit the road next, you have a game under your belt and you have that level of confidence. So these 3 games are huge for the Packers, but especially against the Vikings at home, you should win home games. And not to mention, against a Vikings team that's ailing compared to the Bears and the Lions so far this season. And with those two sitting on the horizon, you need this game more than anything. Not to mention, with your last 2 home performances, you still need to prove to yourself and everyone that watches this team that if it's a home game against a divisional opponent, you should fear going into Lambeau Field. And what Carolina and Philly showed is that you don't really fear it as much. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. My prediction, I mean, I have the Packers taking down the Vikings. I do think it'll come down to the wire because this Green Bay team, it always seems to. The offense needs to play better early on and do what they did against the Giants, which is stay efficient. Because, again, against Carolina, they weren't good in the red zone. Against Philly, they weren't great on those clutch money downs, 3rd and 4th downs, even though the stats might not show that they were that bad, but situationally they weren't the best. But against the Giants, 4 for 4 in the red zone, 7 of 11 on 3rd downs. And when they needed to make the plays, they did. And I think that is so pivotal against a Vikings squad that, I mean, offense, defense, I don't think the record really shows just how good they are, especially with that head coach and that defensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell being the head man and Brian Flores, the DC. They're going to throw a lot at the Packers, and we'll see how Green Bay responds. But, I'll leave it with this. The Packers are 5-0 when they score exactly 27 points, and they're 1-3-1 when they don't. So take that as you will. And remember that number 27 when you're watching the game, Packers-Vikings Sunday at noon. That'll do it for WFRV Plus Sports Night. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Cameron Ezair saying so long. And enjoy the game Sunday. We will see you next week.